I want to begin with disturbing news out of the ICE detention centers. According to Law and Crime, the headline is on your screen. It's like an experimental concentration camp. Whistleblower complaint alleges mass hysterectomies at ICE detention center. In other words, there are forced sterilizations going on with quote unquote detainees. And I say quote unquote detainees because that is the official term that the U.S. government designates these human beings with, but it's intentional because it dehumanizes them and it gives them room to carry out atrocities and crimes against humanity, like lawandcrime.com is reporting. I want to read several quotes from this publication. Quote, several legal advocacy groups on Monday filed a whistleblower complaint on behalf of a nurse at an Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE detention center, documenting jarring medical neglect within the facility, including a refusal to test detainees for the novel coronavirus and an exorbitant rate of hysterectomies being performed on immigrant women. I want to continue reading. The nurse, Dawn Wooten, was employed at the Irwin County Detention Center in Georgia, which is operated by LaSalle Corrections, a private prison company. The complaint was filed with the Office of Inspector General for the Department of Homeland Security by advocacy groups Project South, Georgia Detention Watch, Georgia Latino Alliance for Human Rights, and South Georgia Immigrant Support Network. I want us to take a second to take this in, what is happening on American soil, and make sure that we understand the implications here, because America is committing crimes against humanity in what they are calling experimental concentration camps. And a lot of people disregard this for, I don't know why. Political reasons, obviously. But there are people who won't believe that fascism has come to this country unless Donald Trump names himself Adolf Hitler and wears a swastika. But by that time, it's too late. Nothing that happened in Nazi Germany started off the way it ended. In other words, if we are waiting for images that we saw from the Holocaust for us to declare what's happening here to be crimes against humanity, then we will be complicit with what's going on. Let me pull up a couple of more quotes for you. Multiple women came forward to tell Project South about what they perceived to be an inordinate rate at which women in ICDC were subjected to hysterectomies, a surgical operation in which all or part of the uterus is removed. Additionally, many of the immigrant women who underwent the procedure were reportedly confused when asked to explain why they had the surgery, with one detainee likening their treatment to prisoners in concentration camps. And this is the final quote from this article. Recently, a detained immigrant told Project South that she talked to 5 different women detained at ICDC between October and December 2019 who had a hysterectomy done. The complaint stated, when she talked with them about the surgery, the women reacted confused when explaining why they had one done. The woman told Project South that it was as though the women were trying to tell themselves it's going to be okay. I'm almost speechless about this because the only thing I have is rage and anger. I think the mistake that we make too many times is that we actually believe that we're better than this. Americans believe that Americans are too civilized to do this type of thing, despite the fact that we have a history of doing these exact things. We have a history that suggests that not only are we capable of doing this, but it's very likely that this will be done. And yet we have people who are more concerned with lecturing us about quote unquote hysteria, about made up, contrived ideas of white supremacy. I had one reporter from The Intercept who said this morning that white supremacy was invented by the far left. And we have more people who are, maybe not more may be the wrong word, but we have too many Too many people who look at situations like this that are happening across the country, and instead of being appalled at the very possibility that America is doing this, which is not absurd. It is not an absurd possibility to assume, to believe that America can do this, because America has done this. It is in our history. Don't believe me? Let me pull up another headline on your screen. This one from the Smithsonian Institute. It goes far back in American history. California once targeted Latinas for forced sterilization. This is just one instance. Here's a quote. Eugenics was seen as a science in the early 20th century, and its ideas remained popular into the mid-century, advocating for the science of better breeding. Eugenicists endorsed sterilizing people considered unfit to reproduce. And under California's eugenics law, first passed in 1909, anyone committed to a state institution could be sterilized. Many of those committed were sent by a court order. Others were committed by family members who wouldn't or couldn't care for them. Once a patient was admitted, medical superintendents held the legal power to recommend and authorize the operation. Eugenics policies were shaped by entrenched hierarchies of race, class, gender, and ability. Working class youth, especially youth of color, were targeted for commitment and sterilization during the peak years. That's not the only one. You need more evidence, because I think what happens is you have so many people in this country who believe in the idea of America being civilized. And in order to believe that America is too civilized to do these type of things, you have to completely erase all of America's history, from the genocide of the Native Americans through the dehumanization and enslavement of African people, through all of the lynchings of Jim Crow that took place just in the last century. You have to completely erase that entire history to believe that America is too civilized to do this type of thing that is being reported by Law and Crime. PBS.com, unwanted sterilization and eugenics programs in the United States. Here's PBS's evidence. It says, quote, coerced sterilization is a shameful part of America's history, and one doesn't have to go too far back to find examples of it. Used as a means of controlling undesirable populations, immigrants, people of color, poor people, unmarried mothers, the disabled, the mentally ill, federally funded sterilization programs took place in 32 states throughout the 20th century. Driven by prejudiced notions of science and social control, these programs inform policies on immigration and segregation. We have concentration camps happening in the United States that are experimenting with sterilizing women.